Everyone, welcome to the March 25th Shade Protocol developer live stream and update. There is an immense amount of things to celebrate: the success of the airdrop, the incorporation of new primitives on the near horizon, and a healthy and growing community. There's so much to talk about today. But before we kick things off, we will start with some quick introductions. For those of developers on this call who have introduced yourself before, just give your name and your role. And for anyone that's new to this call and this is your first developer live stream, feel free to offer a little bit more context about yourself and your background in Shade Protocol. So we'll go ahead and start off with, I guess, myself, Carter Wetzel here, one of the lead economists for Shade Protocol and all things community management. Dalton?
Yeah, I can take next. Hey guys, it's Daltz, brand manager and community manager for Shade Protocol.
Swenson?
Jack. I'm a contractor for like the main Shade Revo.
Gotcha. Austin?
My name is Austin Wetzel. I am a front-end developer. I worked on building the user interfaces that interact with the contracts.
Mohammed?
Mohammed here, one of the core leads at Shade Protocol.
Jeremy?
Howdy everyone, I'm Jeremy Shipper. I help out anything business-wise, community-wise.
Awesome. Solarbeam?
Hey guys, I'm Steam. I'm docs to the team, I'll docs to the community eventually. This is my first roundtable. Building a primitive as a developer, which you'll find out more about later. I have a background in software development for about a decade. I've been pretty active in the startup space and in the crypto space, and finally looking to make my move full-time with Shade Protocol. I'm really excited to be here.
Awesome. Red?
Hey everyone, I'm Red. I used to work in the fintech space doing full stack until I started getting into crypto and DeFi. And I used to be a pretty big Luna guy, pretty big lunatic, but now I'm a full-time Shade Spartan, and I'm excited to show everyone what we've been working on.
Awesome. Kyle?
Hey all, I'm Kyle. I'm a backend developer for the core Shade repo as well.
Awesome. And then finally, last but not least, we got Red, we got Beam, and then Hoomp. Yes.
Yeah, hi, I'm Hoomp. I've been working in the fintech space also for about 2 years. I did mobile development first, and then I got switched to full stack, and I've just been doing that, but got tired of corporate, so now I'm with Speem and Red working on some cool shit, so pretty excited.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for the introductions, and for anyone in the community, it's just super cool to have a growing team of core developers that are really pushing Shade Protocol forward. So super fun to grow the family. So now we're going to shift to talking about the airdrop, a little bit of post-mortem. The last developer call took place before the airdrop, and now we're after. So we're going to just have a brief 5-ish minutes where we kind of reflect on how the airdrop went, the lessons that were learned, some of the problems that were encountered, and then we'll go from there. Austin, I believe, will be sharing his screen. He has an infographic on the amount of shade that has been claimed to date, and it's an important chart that he's going to be sharing because it kind of tells the story of how the airdrop went down and the changes that had to be put into place. So Austin, go ahead and if you can share your screen.
I will do that. Carter, do you want me to mute and you talk through it, or do you want me to talk through what I'm looking at here?
Yeah, you can go ahead and give it a shot. Mohammed, if you want to jump in too, feel free to kind of talk about on the infrastructure side of things as well.
Yeah, definitely. So Airdrop has been a very big success, I would say, altogether. We have recently shared some metrics on how much shade was claimed, and basically the amount of computations that have been done on the secret network, right? By computations is basically how many times the shared airdrop contract was interacted with, and how much basically shade was claimed as well. So if you see the shade airdrop claims are round, are round numbers, that's because we round them down to the lowest number. But once the airdrop completes, we'll know the exact number of shade claimed as well. So, talking on the infrastructure side of things a little bit, when we did the launch, we definitely slowed down the network. The blocks went super high, shows that everybody's excited about Shade and everybody wants their Shade as fast as possible. We're pretty excited about that, and we're excited to see where that really goes. We had a whole node cluster set up. Luckily, the node cluster was did performed very well. But we had to eventually throttle it down just to make sure that the network, because of the network sustainability, that the validator is brought forward. So, being a core validator, some of the concerns were shared with Secret Labs, and we have already like seen a lot of improvements coming to Secret Network over the next period of months, and we're going to see a lot of improvements coming in a couple of new quarters as well. So excited to see that the infrastructure of Secret Network is improving because of Shade Protocol and the boost that Shade Protocol is bringing here. So, yeah, there's been exciting things, a lot of things that we want to talk about on this front, but I'll hand it back to Carter on this.
Yeah, and I'll briefly say that we saw so much congestion that we had to start rate limiting. We had to enact rate limiting, and shout out to Secret Nodes for being a key infrastructure partner on this front. But you'll see that the slope initially was very sharp, very vertical, and there was so much throughput going to the chain with complex computations that the chain was slowing down. And so we chose to essentially throttle how often people could interact with the website in order to make sure that the underlying blockchain itself could still function properly. So it was this weird song and dance with making the user experience on the website kind of worse in exchange for making sure the computations on the back end actually went through. And we eventually found a pretty good cadence and slope that balanced the two. And now claims should be extremely smooth. I know I actually just claimed like 2 days ago and it took like 30 seconds. It was super smooth, super fast, no problems. So lots of really good lessons learned on the infrastructure side. Really a big shout out to Secret Labs. They're taking really big steps on the infrastructure side of things to continue to improve and make sure that there's that the user experience is best as possible for everyone on Secret Network and all the different applications. And definitely some hard lessons learned, but it's onwards and upwards from here. So that covers the Shade Protocol airdrop. We will now pivot over to, give me one moment, teased in Discord. It's been talked about on Twitter, and immense progress has been made on this to the point that Austin's actually going to show us both the landing page as well as the application itself, just going to kind of give us a brief preview. Audits are being finalized, and this product will be released sometime in the next 7 to 14 days. If not sooner. So that's kind of the soft timeline. I personally think it's coming next week, but just want to make sure we have enough flexibility on the final testing. So Austin, if you want to go ahead and share your screen and walk us through.
Sounds good. Excited to be sharing some alpha with you guys. I know everybody loves that. Okay. So I'm going to jump over to a local deployment of our landing page as well as the application itself. So here's the landing page for staking derivatives, which will be coming soon. There's a few things we need to tweak on this page. You'll notice this button up here says Shade Staking. Don't get too excited. We're not quite ready for Shade Staking yet, but yeah, just give you a little preview of what this is going to look like. We're very excited to finally bring this product to the community. Got a roadmap down at the bottom of what's coming.
What was that? Was that cross chain I saw in there? No. Scroll back up. Hide that.
That is some major alpha right there. Okay, now I can jump over to the application. It's a local testnet deployment, so these aren't real balances or anything like that, but you can see what this is going to look like. It's got a very similar look to what our airdrop page has had so far. I'll have a number of links on the side for various resources. information about staking derivatives. You can read an audit report that's been done for these contracts. You can stake your secret to receive staked secret, which is a liquid staking derivative token. And then you can withdraw that staked secret to then receive your secret again after waiting the 21-day unbonding period. You'll also be able to see some different market statistics here in the middle, and then information about your unbondings that are waiting for that 21 days to actually claim it once it becomes available to you again. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen and just talk briefly about like why staking derivatives are really interesting and why this staking derivative is special in relation to Shade Protocol. So let's go ahead and share screen right here. So private staking derivatives. It's a really, really cool concept. To date, when you've had to stake, you have to use secret, which is actually publicly visible, in order to kind of participate in tapping into that passive APR. But the staked secret staking derivative is a SNP20. So you can actually privately help secure the underlying layer 1 without ever actually having any sort of non-privacy footprint. We love the logo. It's the secret logo wrapped with the Shade icon itself with a little bit of tweak to it, so you know it's talking about staking derivatives. So why Shade staking derivatives? You have fungibility, private staking. There's going to be automatic reward compounding. In some countries, staking derivatives are tax advantaged with how they're structured versus regular staking. There'll be liquidity providing opportunities. There will be liquidity itself. This is probably the most key feature. The implications of a staking derivative is you can go on a DEX, you can buy a token that is always accruing value because of the staking rewards, and then if you ever want to exit that position, you can just sell the token instead of having to wait 21 days to unstake your underlying principal. So staking derivatives unlock all of this value that's kind of stuck, because we now have a token that represents that underlying collateral that's passively generating APR. Additionally, when you stake with the staking derivative, you're reducing your risk because the staking derivative is staking out to multiple validators. In our case, I believe it's 22 validators were selected. I think someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was 22. And we'll be releasing kind of a constitution that talks about what it takes for a validator to be accepted into the Shade staking derivative set. And it mostly has to do with performance, uptime, governance, participation. We really want the Shade secret staking derivative to be a public good that really helps the performance of the network. We want to reward validators that are like properly contributing to the network. And so by staking with the staking derivative, you'll be helping the overall network. In terms of liquidity, we're going to be aiming to have around $500,000 to $1 million in liquidity on day one with the secret to staked secret pair. That's really, really exciting for us because this means that you can actually buy and sell it and actually take advantage of the most important feature of the staking derivative, which is that liquidity. And this will be on Sienna, is where that liquidity will be living. If you're a Shade holder and a secret staker, you are highly, highly incentivized to use STKD-secret, which is the Shade staking derivative, as well as other Shade staking derivative products in the works versus other staking derivatives, because a very small percentage of the revenue stream and in terms of fees goes back to the Shade DAO. So as more staking derivatives are released, if you're a Shade holder, you're actually kind of giving back to yourself. You're giving back to the Shade community, and all of these different staking derivative products will also be governed by Shade governance in the long haul. There might be some hybrid governance that happens with the secret staking derivative, but it's still that type of stuff's being mapped out over time. So we'll see where that goes. And the cool part is, and we'll be talking about this more later today, is that we also have staking derivatives for SNP20s in the works. So conceivably, you could have a staking derivative for Sienna, for C5, for Alter, for Jackal, for Data Vault. Anytime there's locked collateral earning APR, we can make a staking derivative for it. And the possibilities of what that can unlock in terms of revenue streams and in terms of liquidity are just super, super exciting. So we'll be sure to keep you guys in the know. For now, the two that are being prioritized are the Shade staking derivative, and then obviously the Secret staking derivative is the one that's going to be launched. Also want to give a huge shout out to Stake or Die and Baydrick for being really, really core contributors to the Secret staking derivative that's getting launched very, very soon. So yeah, that is the rundown. Stop sharing my screen here. Does anyone else on the call have any comments they want to make on the staking derivative front? I'll mute myself here temporarily. All right, if not, we will now transition over to the front end and contract team discussing the current state of the mainnet contracts, and then we will be shifting over to kind of the alpha reveal. So I'll let Mohammed kind of lead off here. We can go contract by contract, the most important ones. The ones people are probably most interested in are the Shade staking contracts, treasury contract, and governance probably. But Mohammed, I'll let you lead this portion.
Yep, so we definitely have a lot of things in the works. We have like a couple of contracts that are key contracts that we're working towards right now. Some of the key primitives obviously are unlocked with our mainnet launch from these contracts. So we have the staking contract, the governance model, which are tied together really. We have a treasury contract that works with rebalancing. We have a lot of other primitives attached to the treasury that basically runs APR for our Shade stakers, and this is where actually rewards will be distributed back to Shade staking as well. So these are two key primitives. We do have a couple of other primitives around the works with Shade, but I will let Guy speak to more of the staking module a little bit. I'll let Jack speak to the little bit on the treasury here.
Hey guys, so in terms of staking and governance, staking is currently being thoroughly tested. It should be considered complete. Any other additional upgrades should not be like completely important or important for its mainnet. But now for governance, there is an existing version of governance that is being heavily upgraded as
Oh, I think we lost him. The alpha was just too good. The internet just chopped him down. They're like, no, you are not a... Oh, he's back.
Can you guys hear me? My internet is like really choppy today.
Yeah, you broke up right when you said there's like an existing implementation of governance that's being heavily upgraded, and then you broke up on us.
Yeah. Okay. Heavily upgraded as per the newest governance white paper. I don't want to reveal much alpha on this. We do like reveal some little things about governance, but if you read the white paper, you'll pretty much see what's being implemented there. But yeah, we are on track for mainnet.
Very cool. So Shade staking, for the most part, like in a good spot.
Let us place right back for staking derivative that we have planned out. Just for context, that staking module will work very close to the staking derivative. But yeah, I'll hand it over to Jack here to talk about the treasury a little bit.
Yeah, so the treasury's been a little bit of a struggle recently just because of the complexity of all the farming we're trying to do with the assets and all the revenue generation and all the different applications that we need to integrate with. But recently we've kind of re-architected it and we've come up with a better, simpler format so that it's, you know, the core of much smaller, but the other more replaceable, reusable pieces that we can kind of add in and swap out more easily. So things are coming along pretty well.
Yeah, and I would just add to that front to say that originally Treasury is being designed to handle, you know, as many applications as use cases as possible. But the problem that emerged is that if a logic change needed to be added to the Treasury, you would have to migrate the Treasury contract, which means assets on the Treasury contract would have to get migrated. So this is obviously was hugely problematic because then you're trying to handle as many use cases in advance and you don't have much like composability and ability to like change and migrate logic. And so the Treasury got re-architected where the treasury itself, treasury contract, is actually relatively dumb, with the ability where all the logic is now migrated off to a secondary contract directly tied with the treasury, that can be upgraded and changed without those assets ever having to be migrated. So it's significantly safer now on that front, and there's significantly more flexibility. And what this means is that the treasury contract was previously, I would argue, one of the biggest barriers to mainnet launch, because we were trying to push so much into that contract. But now that this abstraction exists, you can actually launch with a very, very dumb treasury contract, because the logic doesn't actually live there, with room for us to be able to upgrade and make changes in the future quite easily. So in my opinion, this re-architecting drastically shortened our time to mainnet. I don't know by how long, but it is simpler, safer, and with more flexibility. So huge shout out to Swenson on that front, and everyone that helped contribute to that new architecture design. So on that front, I think that covers the majority of the main contracts that kind of are remaining: the treasury, staking, shade staking derivatives, plus governance. I think we can now shift to the very exciting portion of this call with S-Beam and crew. If you guys would like to talk about what you're building.
Sure. Yeah. So we've been building this. It's one of the key primitives that you guys keep hearing about. We've been building this for a couple of months now. It's finally far enough along that we're ready to talk about it. It's a really exciting product. It's going to be great for revenue. It's a lending product. It's called Shade Lend. And if you're familiar with MakerDAO or Abracadabra Money or any other over-collateralized debt-backed stablecoins, it's a similar model. So obviously Silk is going to be, we've talked at length about the arbitrage mechanism that's going to be used to keep the peg of Silk, the assets in the treasury that are going to back the value of Silk, and so on. And we can combine that with the over-collateralized model that has already been proven by MakerDAO and other clones to be effective. And we're also in a really unique position to solve a lot of the problems that you see with these over-collateralized stablecoins. So through this, I'll go through the background a little bit. We'll release something in more detail about how the stability mechanism will work and how it will interact with arbitrage and all that. But the summary, the exciting stuff, is that it's going to add security to Silk. It's going to add another way for the Silk peg to move, or rather the market value to move against the peg. So as an example, if the market price of Silk is below the peg, we can arb that to bring the price back up, and that loss gets absorbed by shade stakers. And if there's this additional stability mechanism through Lend that can absorb some of that downward movement, that's less loss for the shade stakers. And the same goes for upward movement. It's another revenue generating activity that will bring the price of Silk back to its peg. So with coins like Magic Internet Money, some smaller ones like Defrost Finance and More Money, one of the things that they do really well is make money. Lending protocols are really profitable, and in particular, they don't have the expense that other protocols have. If you imagine an exchange, a decentralized exchange, you have to provide farm rewards to incentivize liquidity. With Lend or any other lending protocol, you only really have to incentivize utility for the stablecoin, and obviously Silk's going to have immense utility, which makes Lend a really cheap product for us to launch. And then you charge interest, you charge fees, and that money goes directly into the treasury, and it goes right back to the shade stakers. So it's incredibly capital efficient. So we're going to do a very similar model to these products. We're going to have individual vaults. For example, they're all SNP20 vaults. So Ethereum, Bitcoin, Secret, you deposit the collateral. You can take out a loan of Silk. This is minted, fresh, out of thin air against the collateral. You pay a one-time borrowing fee, and then you accrue interest over time, pay it back whenever. And I can show you the UI. This is an early design of the UI. Can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So we're not quite far along enough on the implementation to show you the live version, but these designs are pretty much what we're going with, minus some minor tweaks. So this was your vault page, as you can see from left to right. We've got the asset that you're going to deposit into the vault, the amount of silk that you can actually borrow out of the vault. This is one of our risk mitigation mechanisms. In order to prevent silk from being backed too much by a single asset, we can put a cap on how much silk you can actually borrow against that asset. So that keeps us safer. You know, we might be more willing to accept Bitcoin, less willing to accept Shade as collateral, so we can just have way more silk available for Bitcoin, way less silk available for Shade. There's your interest rate, which would, this is an annualized interest rate, it's an APR. There's the fee, which is the one-time borrowing fee that gets taken out of your collateral when you deposit. And there's the max LTV, which is the maximum size of a loan that you're allowed to take. So, for example, 70%, you can take out at max 70% of the value of the Bitcoin you deposit for this. You can also see that in this particular screenshot, you've got a position in Shade. Some Shade is deposited, some silk is borrowed. Here's what the LTV is, and the risk, the liquidation risk, is medium. This view shows only your open positions. So this is if a particular user has lots of open positions, and you see the different risk levels. This Ethereum position is very dangerous. This Shade position's not so dangerous. This is the view for taking out a new loan. You can deposit collateral and borrow silk in the same screen in one transaction. You got some information here, such as the interest rate that you're going to pay and the liquidation price. So in this particular screenshot, it's saying that if Secret were to drop to $8.84, long gone, you get liquidated, or you'll be marked for liquidation. And I'll explain how we're going to do liquidations later. It's a very interesting mechanism. And the last tab here is the repay tab. So this is just like borrowing, but you're repaying. Instead, you're putting the silk back into the vault, and you can then withdraw some collateral, and you get some information on your position here on the right, which gets updated as you type. So you can kind of play with scenarios if you like. So that's all we got for the UI right now. And I talked about liquidations. So the way liquidations work normally on protocols like MakerDAO is when the LTV of a loan goes too high, then anybody can come in, call the liquidate function on that vault. They purchase a portion of your collateral by repaying your loan on your behalf. They get a discount. The discount on the collateral is the profit that the liquidator makes, and that's sort of the incentive. And historically, this has been a competitive space. If you're not like a gigabrain, you're not going to liquidate anything because it's going to be MEV bots are going to liquidate before you and everything. One of the advantages of being on a privacy-preserving network like Secret is that you can't actually see information about these loans by querying the blockchain. So you can't see that there's $1 million being ready to be liquidated if Bitcoin were to drop by 0.1%. You can't manipulate the market in your favor to capitalize on those liquidations. You'll be able to see how much debt is in the vault in total, how much collateral is deposited in total, but not anything about individual positions. So that eliminates that form of competition. But even better, you don't even have to write a bot. We take care of it for you. If you're familiar with Anchor on Terra, they have a partnership with the Kujira team and a product called Orca, which lets you bid on liquidations. In the Anchor model, you deposit UST at the percent discount that you want. So for example, you deposit UST in the 3% pool, and you can buy liquidated Luna at a 3% discount. And that's a fair liquidation mechanism. Anybody can deposit their UST, and then the liquidations are shared equally through all the bidders, depending on your pool share. And we're going to do the exact same thing with Silk. You can deposit Silk against any of these assets, and then when a position goes underwater, it'll get liquidated, and you get your share of the collateral. So there is no competition from bots. They can't outcompete you. It's impossible because we don't even allow it in the code. And if you want to liquidate and you want to capitalize on this money that's been previously untouched or untouchable by you, you now can. And that is one of the most exciting things. And again, it's a revenue source for us here at Shade. So all the Shade stakers are going to get some value out of it too. And utility for Silk by locking it up in liquidation pools rather than in LPs, potentially lowering the market value. And that's pretty much it. I could go on, but I think I'll leave it there. I've gone on for a while. Like I said, we'll come out with some more information in our docs, very specific details about how the Silk peg is going to be maintained using the lending mechanism and how it's going to relate to the ARB mechanism and all that. Probably a whole white paper. So super excited.
Amazing. Thank you so much, S-Beam, Hoomp, and Red for sharing on that. It's such a unique jump because there's never been an algorithmic stablecoin that also that worked directly with the lending product in an over collateralized system, which had been provably safe but not reflexive enough, right? But because it's now provably safe combined with the algorithmic stablecoin, which is the most flexibility for token expansion and reacting to market conditions with the arbitrage that maintains it, this is a leap forward. This has never been done. So this is cutting edge in its own right, even if you don't account for the privacy that makes this lend product insane. No longer do you have whales that are just parsing through that can shift the market to liquidate people. With privacy, your individual position is safe. And not only is your position safe, the people that participate in the liquidation, it's done in a provably safe way with how those pools are designed. So privacy is taking this lend product to the next level, and there's just so much innovation here that's happening. I just can't wait for people to find out about Shade Lend, and there's a lot of work ahead. Like, make no mistake, but this is just the beginning, and the amount of knowledge share that's happening between the developer primitives, and like there's a primitive that's not even on this call that is extremely exciting, right? So it's just the doors are open, and one thing I'll say, S-Beam, is like there's still room for even more innovation in the sense that like Sky as an arbitrage contract could potentially somehow interact with Lend in a unique way, right? Like there are still like possibilities that can be explored because all these other primitives, they launch their own token, their own app, and they can't integrate with other primitives in very unique special ways because there's competing incentives, right? But because Shade Lend is directly in line with Silk, which is directly in line with staking derivatives, it's directly in line with all the primitives. It's just everyone's rowing in the same direction, and it's the value accrual is going to be so much fun. So thank you for sharing, and does anyone else have anything else they want to? Obviously, that was me getting amped. I got to be careful, I get a little excited, but does anyone else have anything they want to add in here? I think that's most of what we got here. We'll shift to open community questions at this point for anyone in the live stream. I'll let is Dalton on the call? Dalton, I'll let you manage this portion.
Yeah, for sure. I've been recording a couple questions here, so for anyone who wants to answer, whoever has the best answer, please just speak up when I ask this question. Someone did ask what the APR for staking derivatives would be. I'm not sure if we have that set yet, but if anybody does have that answer.
Sure, I think Austin would be best positioned to answer this with like the loose estimation. And also, you should probably talk about the disparity in APR between this staking derivative versus other ones in terms of calculator stuff that we've spotted.
Sure. So, I mean, I can say that the APR will be similar to staking. So we're taking an aggregate of all the different validators that will be staked to for the staking derivative product. I think there's still some configurations, some decisions that have to be made on the bot that triggers the auto compounding. So I think we're looking at daily compounding of rewards at this point, but potentially can be even higher depending on the number of people that are interacting with the staking derivative contract. putting me on the spot a little bit because I don't have a full understanding of how the contract side of things are working and the triggering is happening. But it should be very similar to staking derivatives or regular staking with auto compounding. We're not taking a commission fee off your staking rewards or anything like that. So there's a fee on when you mint the staking derivative token, and potentially a fee when you withdraw. But some of that's still a little bit in discussion. So that's what I can say as far as APR.
Just to add to Austin's point there, that the staking APR is calculated, like he mentioned, over the validators is a pool of validators that the community has decided they want to use, and based on that, the APR comes pretty close to what we expect on average basis. The key difference really here is that the staking derivative will grow our value based on your rewards compounding in the pool, really. And like Austin mentioned, the compounding rewards, the limits are set. So we have tested multiple scenarios. Really, we have tested on daily basis, we tested hourly basis, we have tested bi-weekly as well. So there are a couple of scenarios we're looking at, which probably will come down to mostly daily, like Austin said. But on the contract side of things, like auto compounding rewards does get triggered if we so wanted to. So this really will based on the demand, and we're looking forward to see what the Shade community thinks. We would like to hear more about incentives that are looking at, as well as what intervals is the community really looking to see and engage with the Shade staking derivative contracts on that front. So looking forward for active feedback on this front, guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Mohammed, and thank you, Austin. Next question. So someone actually asked, will SNP20s be IBC compatible? So Carter or Mohammed, I think that is probably best suited for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, we've had the legend Asaf, I believe, tweet out that like SNP20 IBC compatibility it's on the roadmap. It is going to happen, and I've heard rumors that it could be anywhere between like somewhere between April to June for the SNP20 IBC compatibility, which is great to hear. That's absolutely phenomenal. I know before SNP20s weren't necessarily like, the timeline wasn't necessarily exact, but it sounds like things have been narrowed in on that front, which is really, really good for the application layer on Secret Network. This means that Silk and Shade could be IBC compatible, which means osmosis and other cross-chain opportunities. So,
yes, sir. Next question. Will all the primitives be accessible from the main Shade protocol landing page? So Austin, I don't know if you want to talk about that as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So we have a vision of bringing all these different DeFi primitives together into one location, so that you can do everything you want to do, different types of things all in the same place. You don't have to go to all these different sites to do different apps with different tokens. So we're working very hard to bring a unified experience to the user within our application. And the front end team's putting a lot of work into that right now to set some good standards in place, so that as more and more people come in and want to build on top of Shade protocol, they can come in and easily start to do that and have multiple different groups working together in parallel to bring that vision to a reality. So really excited for what that future large application is going to look like.
Yeah, absolutely. Carter, I think this question is best suited for you just because you have a relative relationship with Cetera and product. But are both DAO entry and conversion mint daily hard capped?
Yeah, so the conversion minting cap is way, way larger than entry minting, and that's because there's no the oscillation between the two is extremely important for maintaining Silk's peg, and you're burning one, minting the other. So in terms of like supply, that's one of the core key mechanics. If there was a cap that gets hit, there's some danger attached to that, and so you can check out like the Terra ecosystem and see how they're handling conversion minting limits. Entry minting is capped though, because we're essentially minting Shade or Silk out in return for some other type of collateral that's sent to the DAO, and so that just has to be carefully managed over time. They're two separate economic phenomenons, And entry minting, you have to be super, super careful about with not inflating shade or silk in relation to the valuable collateral that's coming onto the DAO. Whereas conversion minting is it's a stability mechanism fundamental to the protocol.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get time for probably 2 more questions, maybe 3 if there's a short one. But will the ARB activity of lending be limited in a similar fashion to that of the Sky ARB bot? So Carter, I think that's probably another question for you.
I think it's an S-beam question. I would say that like there's still like creativity that could occur with like, oh, like Shade staking collateral attached to the Sky ARB bot uniquely interacts with like liquidations, right? Like something like that could be down the road. I don't think it's currently on the roadmap, but it's like things that these are creative ideas that it could occur in the long run. But I'll let S-beam kind of speak to the arbitrage mechanisms.
Yeah, the specific interaction between lending and arbitrage is something that's unique that only we can do. That I guess we're not ready to talk about in detail yet, but the stability mechanism of lend is that if the market price of silk is above the peg, it becomes profitable to take out a loan and then immediately sell the silk that you borrowed at the higher price, because lend is going to value the silk at the peg price, not the market price. So if silk is trading at $1.05 and it's pegged at $1, you take out a loan, you sell the silk, you just made 5 cents for every silk that you borrow. Obviously, that's a revenue generating activity. You pay a borrowing fee when you do that. It goes into our treasury, and then it goes to the shade stakers. And then on the other direction, when the price is below the peg, so if it's 95 cents when it's pegged at $1, it becomes profitable to buy the silk on the market for the lower price and repay a loan. Because when you took out the loan, it was priced at the peg at $1 in this case. And then you can now buy it for 95 cents and lend will treat it as $1. So you can eliminate $1 of debt by only paying 95 cents. That activity drives the price back up.
Super, super unique and powerful. And like, just once again, it's all never been done in this sense, this combination of an algo and a over collateralized model. So super cool.
And then the final question we'll talk about today, Mohammed, I think this one's more for you and you can walk through it, but when will the rest of the 80% of the airdrop be available to claim, and how will that look?
I guess everybody's waiting for the last 80%. Don't worry, guys. I mean, I'm waiting for the last 80%. But with respect to roadmap on release, this may be divided into portions. There's reason like 80% was locked up, and this will be based on activities on the Shade protocol. So based on the application incentives released, there'll be some flags set and basically allow you to claim that airdrop portion. So it'll probably be divided in another portion of 20%. So probably have another 4 tasks. So alpha leaking here, but another 4 tasks out there for everybody to like do. But these tasks will depend and release over the course of the year with the release of Shade Protocol. So keep an eye out for our roadmap, our releases, and we'll definitely publicly showcase when airdrops are claimable and what percentage will be claimable. I will say that no airdrop decay, which we talked about in the initial release of Shade, will happen only after the mainnet is launched and Silk is launched. So we'll give out public timelines for that, so you will have time. You will have time to claim it. Make sure you keep eyes and tabs on the Shade protocol. Airdrop, Twitter, Discord, 100%.
Because you never know. You never know when that 20%.
So, 1, thank you, Mohammed, for walking through that. 2, Carter, Mindtrap just asked a really good question. So he asked, should we expect these price swings regarding Silk? I know these are just examples, but is 5% up or down a thing? I would love it if we kind of talked about the stability of Silk and how much we've actually back tested it compared to other currencies and compared to other algorithmic stablecoins, and just how stable Silk actually is.
Sure. I mean, I think it's actually a pretty simple answer. There is very low liquidity on Shade, and Shade actually doesn't have any utility right now. So we're talking about a purely speculative token with not deep liquidity. And so these price fluctuations are exactly what you would get for, a Dogecoin or a Shiba Inu, right? Like, I mean, we've said that from day one. It's like it doesn't have that utility yet. But as utility gets unlocked and as liquidity gets deeper, once LP rewards go live, Shade price fluctuation should be a lot more stable and fundamental, especially with like staking coming online. And Silk stability is intimately tied to the amount of arbitrage that's occurring. So the more collateral that's arbing Silk price disparities, the more stable it is. And so that concept of stability, and as well as Lend interacting with the arbitrage as well. So that concept, the concept of Silk stability, is tied to the arbitrage. It's not necessarily tied to Shade's price as much. It's still a component, right? In terms of, you could talk about depegging events and all of that, but I would separate out Shade's price volatility from the ability for Silk to keep its peg. There is a connection there, but for the most part, it is the arbitrage community that maintains it.
Yeah, I just thought that was a really important question.
Just to add on that point, Dalton, with the Silk pegs really being maintained. So Carter did talk a lot about shade liquidity and shade depth of the pool. But when Silk comes out into the market, we should also see Silk liquidity and Silk stablecoin to stablecoin pairs out there as well. These will contribute towards the stability and maintenance of pegs. It really comes down to how many millions of dollars in Silk is being liquidated on either side, and that is what will decide the price of Silk. We estimate that in addition with the Shade algorithm that keeps the peg stable with the algorithm community, plus the derivative products that we have built on the side, and the lending tools that we have that we are thinking of implementing here. All these contributions of capital towards the Shade DAO will directly maintain the pair of Silk. So we should see actually less fluctuation of Silk over time as things start growing and as primitives start coming and playing accounting for the amount of revenue the DAO is generating. So we should definitely see that Silk initial volatility reduce as the depth increases 100%.
Yeah, thank you, Mohammed. If we're going to appease the masses like we normally do, we should probably try and answer a relative question to what is circulating supply. So I know for the claims amount, Austin, back me up if this is correct, but about 94 to 95,000 Shade has been claimed from the airdrop. So in terms of circulating supply, that is the amount that is out there from the airdrop. In terms of everything else, we would have to kind of collectively come together as a team and figure out what the actual circulating supply is. But whatever the price of Shade is at right now, if you multiply that by the 94,000 that has been claimed, that is relatively the rough circulating supply market cap. So I guess what is Shade trading at? If we want to do the math here really quick, Shade's trading at like $78, and if you times it by the 94,000 that has been claimed, that means that we currently have a rough market cap of like $7.4 million. So that isn't a completely accurate, but it is a rough estimate just for everyone who has been asking what is circulating supply.
Yeah.
I think that's the final question, Carter. I guess if you want to say anything else on that.
Just say that there's also some very exciting community initiatives that are being ideated. Dalton, do you maybe just want to give the name, and then we can just close out with that?
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the initiative, or do you want to talk about the multi-sig?
I think we just give the name.
Okay. So there is a community initiative being worked on, being scoped right now between a couple people on the team. It is called the Silk Road Initiative, and it will also have something called the Oracle DAO attached to it. Probably all we should say, but again, it is a very, very community focused and centric primitive of sorts, but just a project that we're working on to try and empower the community as best as possible. So
awesome. Yeah. So I'll just say thank you all for your time. Thank you for the community for tuning in, whether you're watching this live or recorded. More details on the way about Shade Lend and other key primitives. And yeah, thank you all for your time. We'll see you next month. Be sure to follow Shade Protocol on Twitter. Get on the Discord. Get involved. If you're a builder, come talk with us. We want to work with you. And yeah, have a lovely day, guys.